The text arrived while I was standing in my kitchen in Denver, still wearing my robe. My coffee had already gone cold because Barnaby had knocked over his glass of orange juice for the second time that morning, and I was kneeling on the floor with a roll of paper towels. My phone lit up. Dad's contact photo appeared on the screen, the ridiculous selfie he took at Barnaby's baptism, making a face like he'd just smelled something awful. I assumed he was texting about the drive to the ski trip. We'd all been discussing who was bringing food, whose SUV had snow chains, and the usual family logistics. Instead, I read 6 words that stopped me cold. You and your kids are not invited to the family ski trip because everyone wants a peaceful holiday. I read the message once. Then again. A wet paper towel dripped onto my sock while I stared at the screen. People always assume anger comes first in moments like that. It didn't. The first feeling was cold. The kind that settles deep in your stomach before climbing into your throat until you can barely breathe. The kind that forces you to sit down because your legs suddenly forget how to hold you. I lowered myself onto the kitchen floor beside the puddle of orange juice and read the message a 3rd time, almost hoping the words would somehow rearrange themselves into something that made sense. Just then, Isolde patted around the corner in her socks. She looked at me with worried eyes. "Mom, are you okay?" I forced a smile. "I'm fine, sweetheart." It was a lie, but 9-year-olds don't need that kind of truth at 8 o'clock on a Tuesday morning. To understand why that message hurt so much, you have to understand my family. My father, Reeve, isn't a cruel man. He's quiet. The kind of man who'll say, "Pass the salt," 15 times before he'll manage to say, "I love you" once. Even then, the words sound more like an apology than affection. My mother, Margaret, though everyone calls her Rita, is the glue that holds the family together. She remembers every birthday, books the family photographer, organizes holidays, and smooths over arguments before they become real fights. Then there's my older sister Minnie. Her real name is Philomena, but nobody has called her that since she was a teenager. Minnie is 2 years older than me, and she's mastered a very particular talent. She never says hurtful things herself. She lets other people say them for her. Sometimes it's through Mom. Sometimes it's through a family group chat. And now apparently it was through Dad's phone. I'd bet my house Dad never typed that message. For one thing, Reeve would never capitalize you and your in the middle of a sentence for emphasis. That was Minnie's style. She texted like she was writing dramatic Victorian letters. I never replied. People still ask why. Why didn't I call? Why didn't I argue? Why didn't I fight for my place? The answer is simple. I was exhausted. Not physically tired. Soul tired. The kind of exhaustion that comes from spending years being the daughter who apologizes first, the sister who keeps the peace, the one who always shows up, even after being quietly excluded in 100 small ways long before this one obvious rejection. So I closed the message. No angry reply. No question mark. Not even a single, wow. I simply locked my phone, sat on the kitchen floor for another few minutes, cleaned up Barnaby's spilled juice. And then I called the chalet. The place was called Elkridge, just outside Aspen. I'd booked it back in September. Dad's knees had been bothering him, and he'd admitted he didn't want the stress of handling reservations this year. "I'll take care of it," I told him. "Don't worry." So I did. I reserved the entire chalet for a week. 6 bedrooms. A hot tub overlooking the mountains. Everything was already paid for. I still remembered standing in the rental office months earlier, smiling to myself while imagining Isolde learning to ski for the first time and Barnaby proudly building a lopsided snow dinosaur instead of a snowman, because dinosaurs were the only thing he ever wanted to make. I called the front desk. A woman named Finn answered. She'd helped me choose the room layout when I booked the place. "Hi Finn. This is Violet. I made the reservation under Reeve Aldercroft's name, the 6-bedroom chalet." "Oh, hi Violet. Of course. What can I do for you?" "I need to cancel it." She hesitated. "The entire reservation?" "Yes." Another pause. "For everyone?" "The whole thing." Then a small wounded part of me spoke before I could stop it. "Actually, can I transfer the reservation instead? I have some employees who could really use it. I own a small marketing agency operating out of a converted warehouse in Reno. There are only 11 of us, but we're close." One of my employees, Odessa, had spent months talking about how she wished she could take her husband, Callum, and their 3 young kids on a ski vacation someday. Money always got in the way. Odessa is the kind of employee every business owner dreams of. She remembers everyone's coffee order. Keeps the office running when I'm buried in meetings. Once she drove 40 minutes through a snowstorm just to bring me my phone charger before an important client presentation. Her husband, Callum, works construction and occasionally fixes things around our office whenever something breaks. They're good people. The kind who never ask for favors but deserve every bit of kindness that comes their way. Finn explained that transferring the reservation would be easy since I had made the booking and paid for it myself. All she needed was the new guest's information. So I texted Odessa while still standing in my kitchen in my robe. Hey, random question. Are you, Callum, and the kids free next week? I have a fully paid ski chalet in Aspen that I won't be using. I'd love for your family to have it. No strings attached. Just say yes. Sis. She called less than 2 minutes later. She was practically screaming with excitement. I could hear Callum in the background asking what had happened. I gave her the short version. I told her my plans had changed. I told her I wanted them to enjoy the trip. What I didn't tell her was why. I didn't want her sympathy. And I certainly didn't want her thinking she was anyone's backup plan. She wasn't. If anyone deserved a week in a beautiful mountain chalet, it was Odessa, Callum, and their 3 kids. By 10:30 that morning, the reservation had officially been transferred into Odessa's name. By that afternoon, her family was already packing for Aspen. I didn't hear a single word from my family until 3 days later, the day they were supposed to check into the chalet. Only afterward did I learn what had happened. Mom told me everything through tears. As it turned out, no one had ever told my parents I wasn't coming. Minnie had secretly arranged the whole thing. While Dad was in the shower, she'd taken his phone, sent me the message, and then acted as though nothing had happened. She never mentioned it to Mom. So my mother spent the entire drive from Denver believing Isolde and Barnaby would be waiting at the chalet, ready to build another ridiculous dinosaur-shaped snowman with their cousins like they always did. They arrived at Elk Ridge around 4 that afternoon. Minnie and her husband, Desmond. Their 2 boys. And Dad's brother, Cornelius, who had flown in from Portland just for the trip. 8 people. Several suitcases. A cooler packed with the same brand of beer Dad insisted on bringing every year, even though no one else drank it. Mom walked into the lodge first, brushing snow off her boots and already talking about how badly she wanted a hot bath. Behind the front desk stood a young employee named Percy. His real name was Percival, but everyone called him Percy. The moment he looked at his computer, his expression changed. It was that unmistakable look people get when they know they're about to ruin someone's day. "I'm sorry," he said carefully. "That reservation now belongs to another party." Mom actually laughed. She thought it had to be a mistake. "No," she said. "It's under Reeve Aldercroft. We booked it months ago." Percy checked again. Then he looked up with an apologetic smile. "It appears the reservation was transferred 3 days ago to an Odessa van." No one in my family knew who Odessa Van was. Mom stood frozen in the cedar-scented lobby, completely confused. Dad, however, wasn't confused at all. His face slowly drained of color. Because unlike everyone else standing there, he knew exactly who had been excluded from the trip. Even if he hadn't fully realized what had been sent from his own phone. Minnie didn't say a word. Apparently, she suddenly became very interested in checking the luggage. For several minutes, everyone argued with the front desk, convinced there had been some kind of booking error. Then Mom started putting the pieces together. The missing text messages. The fact that my name had disappeared from the family conversations. The transfer date. The reservation. Dad's phone. Finally. Someone had told me not to come. Instead of arguing. Instead of begging. Instead of calling to defend myself. I had quietly given the entire chalet to another family. When that realization hit, Mom said her knees almost gave out. She stepped outside onto the covered porch away from the front desk and called me. At that moment, I was standing in my own kitchen making grilled cheese sandwiches for the kids. When I saw Mom on the screen, my stomach tightened. Part of me had known this call was coming. I just hadn't expected it so soon. Or with so much pain behind it. "Violet." She said only my name. I could hear her crying before she spoke another word. The kind of crying that breaks every sentence into pieces. "Violet, what happened? They're saying the reservation is gone. They told us it's under another family's name. And Dad's phone." She paused, trying to steady herself. "Did someone tell you not to come?" I stood there holding the spatula while Isolde watched me quietly from the kitchen table. Then I told Mom everything. The text. Every single word. How I'd sat on the kitchen floor staring at the screen because I couldn't make myself stand up. How I'd eventually called the lodge. How I'd given the reservation to Odessa and Callum because they deserved a vacation more than my family deserved another chance to hurt me. When I finished, there was only silence. Through the phone, I could hear the wind outside the lodge. Somewhere in the background, Dad was asking who she was talking to. Finally, Mom whispered, "He didn't mean it like that." I closed my eyes. Of course. That had always been the pattern. Someone would say something cruel. Then someone else would spend weeks explaining what they really meant. "Mom," I said quietly, "it doesn't matter what he meant. It matters what he sent." I read the message exactly as it was written. She had no answer. She only cried harder. I didn't interrupt. I didn't comfort her. For 3 days I'd stayed calm. I'd cleaned my house. Taken care of my children. Handled everything without falling apart. I didn't have the strength left to carry my mother's guilt too. After a while she asked almost hopefully, "Is there any way to get the reservation back?" I told her the truth. "No. It isn't mine anymore. I gave it away completely. No conditions. No strings attached. And even if I could change my mind." I glanced out the kitchen window and smiled faintly. Odessa, Callum and their 3 kids are probably unpacking in that chalet right now. I'm not taking that away from them.